Breaking news, actor Jonathan Majors will avoid jail time. Majors has been sentenced to probation after he was convicted of 1 count of second-degree harassment and 1 count of misdemeanor third-degree assault of his then-girlfriend, Grace Jabari. ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer joins me now for more. Brian, what's your reaction to the sentence?
Makes sense. First-time arrest, assault, and a misdemeanor. It's an A-class misdemeanor, so the highest of misdemeanors we have in the state of New York, but you don't typically see jail time following this. It makes sense that based on the nature of the allegations and what we heard from the victim in this case as well, that anger management would be a large portion of this as well. We know it's a 52-week anger management program that he's allowed to do in Los Angeles, which is pretty standard. They don't usually force you to come back to the States to do a sentence like that, and to continue mental health counseling.
So what happens next in this case?
That's pretty much it, unless his attorneys want to appeal the case. From my understanding, they are in that kind of that realm where they believe that the judge got it typically wrong in this, where, if you remember, Jonathan Majors was found not guilty for intentional assault, but for reckless assault. And I think the appellate issue there is that the jury should have never been given the option of reckless assault, but only stuck with the intentional assault. Therefore, he would have won based on a misdemeanor conviction and only been sentenced to the harassment, which I think he would have been much more comfortable with. So a potential appeal in the making.
So what are you watching for if they do go forward with an appeal?
I want to see whether or not the appellate court takes up the case. They can, of course, say they're going to reject it, or they're going to say they're going to take it. And if they do, whether or not those grounds or something they say are enough to overturn this conviction. What they're going to attempt to do, that being the defense, is argue that the facts alleged, as well as the facts that came out in the court, geared more towards an intentional assault rather than a reckless assault. And that jury charge should have never been given to the jury. If that's successful, it's a major change for Jonathan Majors, because he no longer has a criminal conviction, only that harassment violation. But you know what? Everyone can probably do with a little bit of anger management and counseling, so it's no loss there in terms of he's not doing any jail time.
All right. ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer, thank you.
My pleasure.
I still don't understand. I still don't understand how we can justify the idea that he should be convicted for anything whatsoever. And I think that this doesn't affect him in the same way that it affects regular people. I know it affects him worse professionally, meaning that Disney dropped him from Kang, and he was one of the hottest actors at the time that was basically controlling everything, and then he's professionally getting dropped from everything. But as far as the actual conviction itself, when they announced that they was filing charges, he automatically lost everything. And I think that that's the bigger conversation that we losing in all of this, and that the further away that we get from it and the more that we just say, oh, okay, well, you know what, just take the charge. It's not like you got to go to jail. You still can try to get some semblance of your life back. No, your whole life was lost. And she never was charged with anything. And the only reason that he was being charged at all, in my opinion, is because he was a man and he shouldn't have never been with her in the first place, meaning that she wasn't on his level. And the idea that she was able to get into a relationship with him based off of meeting him on a set of a movie and then finessing him into a relationship, which then obviously was the downfall of him, and he lost so much money as a result of it. Really, the idea that he'll never be able to get back what he lost, and all of the opportunities, the missed opportunities, we have no idea. It was probably millions, tens, hundreds of millions of dollars that's out the window. This is really just a moral settlement, right? A moral settlement, in that the fact that he doesn't have to do jail time means nothing. I mean, let's just say hypothetically he had to do 90 days in jail or whatever like that. What does that mean in the grand scheme of things? Right? You still lost everything. You lost your opportunities. You lost upcoming movies. He had lost endorsements with the Army, if I'm not mistaken. And she just goes to go and live her life. She testified against him, and that's the end of the conversation for her. And she gets to go and do whatever she does and ride off into the sunset. And she had these fake tears and all of that stuff. And in my opinion, is disrespectful. Now, look at it in the grand scheme of things from a man's perspective in general, because if Jonathan Majors is able to get everything taken away from him, what hope does a regular man have? Because a regular man is probably going to jail. A regular man doesn't have the resources or visibility to get a lawyer. A regular man loses everything. And so now he got to go on a redemption tour in order to even be able to get, the same level of accolades, which he worked his whole life to get here. And that's the part that everybody is missing. It's not whether or not she was lying, because we were able to look at the video and see him running away from her and her chasing him. We seen the video. He was running away from her and she was chasing him down the street. And then she finessed him ultimately into getting arrested. And then now we hear. And so now he's trying to decide whether or not he wants to appeal or not. And I don't really know what that does. I don't really know, because the court of public opinion and the way that he makes his money is not based off of whether or not he has a charge on his record. It's more or less based off of his reputation and whether brands want to do business with him. And you can't get that back. I mean, I know that Chris Brown is in a whole nother sphere, but Chris Brown is still paying for the repercussions that came along with the public destroying of his reputation, regardless of how talented he is. That came along with the whole Rihanna situation. People have not forgotten. People have long memories. And the only thing, we remember Jonathan Major more for his downfall than we do for his iconic role playing Kang, or his iconic role in Creed, or, you know, any of the other movies that he did that was so absolutely awesome, that showcased his talent that he'd been working on for his whole life. And it all came crumbling down just based off of the accusations of a woman. And that's unfortunate. I think that that's unfortunate. I think that the larger conversation is that so many men are falling victim to what we see happening across the board. And I would want more from us as far as requiring a deeper conversation rather than just saying, at least he didn't go to jail. What about at least he lost his career? What about at least we seen the video and we were able to see with our own eyes, which obviously the jury or whoever it was that convicted him had a completely difference of opinion. I think that what he's seeking at this point is to spend more money from a moral victory perspective, but I don't believe that that's going to translate into him actually being more successful, or him getting his career back, or him getting the opportunities, right? I don't see any of that. And so, you know, it's another man down. And I think that it's a lot of guys that think that it's not worthy of having a conversation about because it doesn't affect them until it affects them. One of the things that I'm battling with, or, you know, the conversations or the narrative that I'm battling against, is that because it doesn't affect me, or because I'm not in a situation, that I should not have concern for it, or it shouldn't be a narrative. People say that all the time. Anton, why are you trying to prevent these guys from being step baby daddies or step crash dummies, and that's not what you are, and you're not out here in the streets? Well, because I was able to avoid it, that means that I'm the one that's worthy of giving the information as to how you can avoid it, in addition to being successfully married. And more importantly, my voice is much more impactful because I'm not under duress to advocate for the thing that's best for men. And so why would I not advocate for men? Why wouldn't I continue to push forward on a narrative of what's best for guys, or what's best for, or an injustice? What happened to the idea of an injustice done to one of us is now an injustice that's done against all of us? But that only applies when it comes to the black community, or it only applies when it comes to certain things, or it only applies when you like the person, right? And so we hypocritical because we pick and choose our spots, when if you are an advocate for something, or if you see an injustice done and you actually believe that it's an injustice, and you don't believe that there is some anomaly that come along with it. But Jonathan Majors is very much a representation of so many men that work their whole lives, but they don't have the camera and they don't have the visibility. And so now that we can use this as an example, this is the things that I think that we need to start talking about also, in addition to all of the other stuff that is wrong or injustices that are done across the board. But, you know, neither here nor there. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you for continuing to rock with me. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. We had an awesome stock club, an absolutely awesome stock club this past Sunday. And I'm releasing some more content this week, so that should absolutely go up. And so I'm excited to continue to be working on y'all behalf and hopefully adding value into your life. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments about this. Make sure you tune into the Q show tonight. That's going to be awesome. I'm going to holler at y'all later. Peace, man.